Sri here from Factors.ai. I wasn't so nervous before, but now after Ashish's session, I'm a little nervous. One, of course, on the ICP front. Second, it's like the bar he has set is pretty high, so I'll try to see what I can do over that. Yeah, I think I can get. Firstly, we are a 3-member founding team, 45 plus people. We started almost 3 years back, 3.5 years back when myself and my co-founder Praveen and Arvind, we came out of InMobi. Arvind came out of Freshworks. All of us got together in Bangalore to start up with Factors.ai. And now we are at 120 plus customers, 45 plus team, as I said. The problem which started with why I chose this topic and why this is something which is very, very important for early stage or even pre-seed entrepreneurs who are just ideating or trying to find out the first ICP or starting to work with the first set of customers is part of some of the mistakes which I did. When we start out as just entrepreneurs, you have an idea, you have a problem which you want to solve, the tech person has something to start coding on. The product person has designs and some amount of product marketing decks and all. The CEO has no work to do. And that's when the mind starts working on like, what do we do? How do we evangelize what you do? Because you can't go to any audience and say like, this is my product, this is what it is, let me convert as customer or something. And you don't have anything more than a kind of a Figma file to share also. And the evangelization becomes a problem. You have to do one-to-N evangelization, both understanding whether the problem is right, whether who's the right target customers, who would be the right target profiles you want to target, how you even want to position and messaging and everything. That's where the problem starts. So this thing which we figured out over a period of time, which I hope others can start doing it much earlier, is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one amazing platform. It's getting to 1 billion users. Everyone comes together there as a professional social community. It's not a general social community, it's a professional social community. People have their titles, people have which companies they have worked in the past, people share about their work-related items or non-work related items pretty explicitly, which is there. So which means if you identify X or Y person, you can say like what he has done in life, which role he is in, what he cares about, the company has how many employees, who others are there in the same marketing team or the customer success team. You will know all these things before actually you reach out to this. And yeah, sure, we can just go to the next thing. Yeah. And hence the primary this thing, if you are a founder or if you are an early startup employee which is there, it's like first get on in LinkedIn. Because at this stage, you would know, yes, who you want to sell to, which is a broad ICP, like these are the set of companies you'd want to sell to, what problem you are solving for, and who is the buyer persona within these companies. For example, in our case, we were targeting the marketing teams. Within the marketing teams, very, very specifically, the demand generation manager or the performance marketing executive in these companies. Second, even further, within this, it's only for SaaS and B2B companies. So which means it's a pretty narrow list. Like we can go after only SaaS companies. We can go after performance marketing executives in these SaaS companies. We can find their title is pretty explicit and we'll know what they are doing. Once you go into their website, you'll also know whether they are spending on LinkedIn, whether they're spending on Google, etc. All those things you know. So, just when I'm just gathering this thing. So one thing which you start doing immediately when you get onto LinkedIn is take a LinkedIn Sales Navigator kind of account, which one lets you to have 100 plus connections per week. Second is like, most importantly, you can also be able to send in-mails to people, which is there. So you have an idea of who you want to target and this thing. So hence you start making connections at the first level. Plain and simple connections. You don't need to be saying that I want to sell this for you or I want to talk to you for feedback. Nothing. You just want to make a network. You start making connections. I have had less than 1,000 connections when I just started off. Now I'm at 17,000 plus in terms of connection, close to 18,000 in terms of followers. All this happened over a period of 3 years. And in all this time, I had made some mistakes. I'll share those mistakes. But what you need to do is like start making your LinkedIn profile and also start making your connections starting with. That's one thing which I would recommend almost every single SaaS or non-SaaS company to start with so that you identify your profiles. The next thing which you do after that is like start communicating on LinkedIn. So there are 2 ways where you can start building on. Another close friend, he talks about like start writing articles. So think about your problem, your company, and what you solve for as a book. and then divide that into chapters. Each chapter is 3-4 blogs. Now you start writing and put up the content around, because that's the cheapest marketing which you can do when you just start off. That's one way to do. For that, you have to be an excellent writer. You have to know SEO a little bit. You have to know how to structure your content. You have to do it. If you don't know that, which was my case, the other thing which you can do is short posts, either over videos or through content saying that this is what we are thinking of solving, or this is our ideal customer profile. These are the kind of problems they have. Or when you do LinkedIn ads, or when you do Google search ads, when you do Bing search ads, these are the things which you need to take care of. These are all things which you can gather as part of your problem discovery as any company person there is. But most importantly, you can write about it in short posts, or you can make a very clear canvas slides where it's like 3-4 slides in this thing. And this you can start promoting. What this happens is now you are actually promoting content to your audience. People might come and like it. People might come and engage with it. People might say like, oh, what you're saying is wrong. This you can do much better in some other place. Everything is a very, very positive engagement. You can start discovering your own community around this. Why this matters is you start figuring out whether what you are trying to talk about actually has some resonance. That's idea one. Second is you have another channel to start discussions around your feedback channels. For example, very early stage, if you're at ICP, you're looking for the first 10 or 12 design partners which are there. Most of the time you'll say like, okay, can I have this conversation with you so that does what I'm doing actually make sense for you? Do you want to do a kind of a POC with me? Do you want to be a design partner for me? And other thing. That's one way to do cold outbound. If you do a lot of LinkedIn, people might not respond. If you do emails, 1% reply rates, friends, communities, VCs introducing us, low response rate. It might happen. It might surely happen for you for the 10. But on this hand, you actually find people who are actually interested in what you are talking about, engaging with what you are talking about. Then it's more easier to say, this is what I'm trying to solve. Would you want to just share 30 minutes of your time? Then that can lead into a better demo and better this thing. This is in the early stages how you want to start talking about your whole problem and other this thing. So hence, LinkedIn gives you this audience for you to promote. The more important thing which also happens, which I think I'll cover in a little more area, but I think I'll step up a little bit, is now LinkedIn has offered promotional ads also. That is, you can write a great post. If it has a lot of one, great content, second, there is a good amount of reactions, you can actually promote it. It's less than $50 for you to get impressions on LinkedIn, for you to sing. Why this also matters is you get into a huge level of audience. It's something like, there are 10,000 companies you can reach out to. You have connected with quite a few of them. Then from there, you are just breaking down to who's the right ideal customer profile for you to get the first 10 or 20 design partners, first 30 customers for you to start with. That's how you can start working with. The next, which is there, is like, yeah, you can go to the next slide. Yeah. The key thing here is like you can't do it yourself. Sometimes as founders, we will be shy. Putting out something on this thing, sometimes it will be cringy, sometimes it not be so great. Someone, your school friends will comment like, why are you doing all this kind of nonsense? All those things would happen to me, happen to everyone. My co-founder just said that don't ever tag me on LinkedIn. I don't want you to do it. Happens. The key thing here is how you find people who can do it for you as well, apart from you also posting. One, as a founder, one of your founders should take the bullet and do it. Second is finding people to do it. It's not something like you always find social media influencers or people who are LinkedIn experts and other this thing. One hack which we got is go after people who are much younger. This thing, I'm sorry, I'm exposing my age, but it's much younger in this thing. And mostly people who are very, very socially, expressive in terms of like they are on Instagram, they are on Facebook, they write talking about, they like clicking, they like doing something and all. So generally socially effervescent people are very, very good. And you can find in people who are coming just out of college or a couple of years out of college and other this thing. How we got through that is, personal story is we went to hire for SDR. So what happened is, first 6 months, nothing happened. I wasn't able to get more design partners, maybe from some friends and influencer, VC introductions, 10 people. Then my co-founder is saying, you're not getting anyone, so what is your job? So you have to get people in. Then he said like, okay, let's go and hire SDRs, outbound SDRs. Mistake, because outbound SDRs for a product which is not fully made, no point, because they'll be sending hundreds of emails. Emails will get into spam. You need to warm it up. You need to have a kind of this thing. Doesn't work much. Then the next thing which happens is like, what do you do now? The same outbound SDRs get bored. And some of them within that saying, okay, why don't we, I mean, I wrote on something on Facebook post. My friend from this company asked me about it. I wrote something on LinkedIn post. That's when it's like, okay, why don't they start writing on this thing? So employee evangelization matters a lot. One mistake some companies also start doing is they put a lot of posts on their company page. Company pages create some traction, but very, very less followers. Personal pages creates much better traction. The nuance here is also, it's like the person who's actually selling or talking about those problems. One, he's reaching out to people. He's talking about, like, this is what I'm solving. It's very easy for another person to connect to a person. They don't feel like sold into. It's like more like, okay, this person I connected, because they also talk about other kind of problems. They'll be talking about, like, I've just finished my BCom, I'm trying to get my MBA. Everything else starts getting it. They'll also interact with other content, and they're also more active on interacting with their personal content rather than with their company content. That's one thing which works. Second thing is, once you have this, you have to have some kind of a plan. We went in an unplanned manner, but one thing which you do is, like most, you start with a Slack account. You start with a team in the Slack account. You can add your co-founders, you can add your SDRs and others who would want to work with this. Keep it totally optional. It's like, this is our social plan for this month. We are going to talk about these problems. We are going to create content on these problems. For example, since we were account intelligence product for B2B and SaaS companies, and we are going to talk about how you can actually identify the right set of accounts, advertise to them on LinkedIn and other channels, and then also put it together, give it to salespeople. So we can choose set of topics. So we said, like, okay, we talk about LinkedIn ads. We talk about Facebook ads. We talk about Bing ads. So each one is a series of ads each one is a series of posts for us to talk about. Second list is talking about analytics. More core, like how does a normal funnel analytics and conversion rate optimization works with someone else. In your case, whether it's for pen testing, whether it's for any other set of parts of what you are doing, you can talk about it in different ways. You would find your own topics to talk about. Make short stories about it. One thing which you need to do is very, very clearly say that this is what I'm going to talk about, and put up the post into your own self-audience before actually putting up in LinkedIn. I have found many ways where, like, I have put something which is totally cringe, people coming back and saying, why did you actually post it? Rather, you better post it internally, get feedback, you would know whether it will ring a bell or not, and then you start posting it. Third is, most importantly, have a kind of accountability with each other. So one of the key things here is, like, LinkedIn the algorithm encourages multiple posting by the same person over a period of weeks. So for example, if you post every day, or if you post at least 3 to 4 times a week, your organic ranking starts increasing. LinkedIn says, like, they'll start promoting it over a period of time. Second thing is, images do very well. Third is, videos do even better. When you actually put a video of yourself, works better, rather than a totally different video which is there. Lastly, likes within the first 1 hour matter a lot. For example, if you get 20 likes within the first 1 hour, the chances of the post to start trending and for it to appear in other people, it matters. So the process is in a very simple way. You have 2-3 people. You connect with, let's say, 1,000 connections which are in this thing. You'll get 500 accepted. You just generally build your network over a period of time. You post. Within posting, you get something like 20 people to like it. It starts trending. You get your post in front of your audience. Someone starts commenting on it. Someone starts this thing, you get your first audience to talk about. So one thing which we used to do is, one, have this post metric. Second is also measure in terms of impressions and the likes and engagements which we get, which is the other part which is there. There are tools which will measure the social engagement and anything, but I'm talking from a more of a early startup founder where, like, you don't want to invest in these tools, you want to keep it light. So you can just measure a certain heuristic kind of like, this is what happens, and then you build on it. The next thing is, this is how you start with it. Next slide, yeah. Then we make mistakes. It's very easy urge to always push your product. And in terms of, like, this is how we do, this is why we do it or something. It's very easy urge when you see a prospect customer liking your post or engaging with your post, immediately send them a message. LinkedIn messages are pretty easy. They connect with you and other this thing. US, and I'm talking about international markets and wherever it is, very easy to send a message. Very easy to be ungenuine, because it's like, gets to you after some point. It's like, I would say, every day take half an hour to write a post, take 1 hour to engage with other posts. Because once you engage, other people also like you and say that you are engaging, and you get better responses and people connecting. For example, there was a very, very big marketing influencer in US, B2B marketing influencer. Multiple times I have sent connections, no response. Once when he had a large post, I wrote I think almost like 7 sentences around analyzing the post and talking about why it is. He sent me a connection. This is how generally people want to interact. They want people to interact with their post. They want people to kind of like intellectually provoke them, have a nice conversation, which is there, and that's the way. So if you just say, oh, this is a great post, oh, I love this, and all those things, yeah, it's a good engagement. But it's not something which is genuine. You also know it. You are just doing it on your mobile phone because it's just like you are driving on the car or you just want to interact with someone and other this thing. On the other hand, engagements on the other hand makes much more difference. Second is value of the product matters. Anything is like, for example, if you are in the customer success vertical, or if you are on, let's say, a project management tool, or if you are on a automated testing tools, all these are all value props and value use cases. There'll be hundreds of, or maybe 5 to 10 competitors in each of those things. You talk about the generic value prop. Why this problem is important to discuss. Why this is an important thing. For example, why attribution is important. Why identifying who are your visitors on your website is important. Why pen testing is important. Why SOC 2 compliance is important. I mean, for SOC 2 compliance, there are at least 5 firms in India. But you generally talk about SOC 2 compliance and talk about why this is important, what is the difference, how you get it done, what is the timeline value for it. People or CEOs who are looking at this product will actually engage with it. And then when they want to use a SOC 2 compliance and other things, they'll think about you. Rather than saying like why, let's say this XYZ company should be the one which you should consider for SOC 2 compliance. And it's very tough to continuously provide talking about the value prop. That's where thinking about writing the post and this thing happens. But very easy to go on to the other line where you promote the product itself directly. The other things which comes through is the sales team. That is when you start getting, let's say you have the 15, 20 customers, you are now having some SDRs and sales people also, and you're also having a social selling team, which is basically producing content, which is there. So social selling team is myself and another person, which is there. One thing which we consistently work with is who is the sales team actually going after? Because now you have an ICP. It's not like 10,000 companies. It's like 1,000 companies you want to reach out in this geography. Who you want to reach out is very clear. The SDR team actually comes to like, this is the person I'm trying to target. Why don't you connect? And then they come into their feed for you. How it works is, I'll take it names here. It's like Naga, who's my lead SDR, says that I am targeting this set of 5 companies. These are the people in this company I want to target. I'll be sending them email, doing a cold call for them. Prior to the week, someone from my team, from the social selling team, would actually be connecting with them. General connection, no relation to it. Promoting content around what we do. What would happen is we'll come into their feeds in some form. So when Naga actually calls them, it's not a cold call. It's actually some kind of relevance. Like, yeah, I've seen you popping up in my feeds, and why you guys are there always on LinkedIn? Kind of questions also come, but it's something which goes through this thing. The next thing is, yeah, the good things we talk about. This takes time, but within a year, your posts will start trending over a period of time. You would be able to get at least 45 to 50 likes, which will translate to somewhere around 5,000 to 6,000 impressions per post, which is there. You would get a lot of engagement comments, which is there. And then you can start making connections around people. One thing I would also add, apart from LinkedIn, is communities. Every single product, SaaS product, would have some community, whether it's Rev Genius, whether it's Marop Pros, whether it's RevOps Co-op, or there are multiple other communities around, like Discord communities, which are there. You can talk about it in the communities. You can use the shameless plug panels at this thing, but you can also put the same what value prop you are talking about also into community, saying that I am evaluating a CRM tool. I am evaluating a pen testing tool. These are the things I'll take care of. Or someone would post a question and you can talk about it. The person also becomes a connection. Then you can go back to them and they'll also engage with your connections. So it becomes like people see you in communities from a more thought leadership. People also see you on your LinkedIn posts. Then when they visit your website, they see the blog, resources page, and other this thing. Then if they really want to read, they can also see Reddit and Quora as well, and that also happens. So multiple sets, if you cover from an overall branding perspective, you'll be able to start getting, we have almost more than 1 million impressions in the last 1 year. And this impressions eventually translates into revenue downstream, that is there. So, yeah. So, for example, it's like multiple sales calls. So we record our sales calls. We record our demo calls. We also have a self-attribution form in this thing saying that where you found us. every month we have at least 10 leads saying that LinkedIn social, or we saw you on LinkedIn. We know we are not running direct ads for LinkedIn. We know we are only doing retargeting ads. So if it's LinkedIn, we know it's from our posts, which is there. Second, it also comes where he says like, okay, I saw people are noticing this one, I should learn from your employee LinkedIn post or something like that. And we also time that post and we also celebrate it internally. That's another aspect which is important, because once a great post comes through, once you have engagement, please celebrate it internally. Second, also talk about it, like why this has happened, and ask the person, because then it enthuses the person to make better posts, which is there. And yeah, 81 leads and other this thing, but leave the numbers. The most important thing is you are creating brand presence. You are creating a kind of a general visibility view. Like if people think about this problem, people talk about anything related to your problem, and that's another thing. You don't need to talk only about your value prop. You can talk about other things around your value prop, other MarTech tools. For example, we talk about other demo tools. We talk about email marketing tools like MailModo and others and all. Why this matters is, one, they are complementary to you. Second, you also then show up as an expertise in terms of thought leadership and overall marketing, B2B marketing. Then within that, you are doing this problem. And hence, it's also more relatable for you. You're not selling for yourself, but you're selling for the overall community. That also triggers with others, whether it's a MailModo or some other company or a few others also talking about us. That's the other thing which you can look at. Yeah. For us, apart from paid search, LinkedIn social is the second highest channel. We know for some companies have done total inbound, not even hired their first outbound person, just working on LinkedIn social as well. It works with content, it works with this thing. One thing which I also missed is, next this one. So how you craft your post, how you put in your post, what kind of things which you talk about. At a fundamental level, it's like, this is tough for some founders. This was definitely tough for me. We talk in kind of a prose. We talk more clearly like this is the problem we are solving and how it is. It's kind of boring to people to read. But if you go through some storytelling courses and you talk about how screenplay writers write about their posts and other things, you start with a kind of a statement, then you have a hook, then you go into the next para, then you go into the next para, and that's something. It's a practice to learn. I don't think I have anywhere near learning it well, but some people do it very, very well. So within my own team, there are content writers who write very, very well in terms of hooks and other thing which works. So craft the post in a very conversation style. Talk about personal experiences. Talk about kind of experiences which you see. Try to figure out like what new things which you can bring into that content. It always helps. Memes help. Things which are funny helps. My top ranking post is some crocodile running. Helps. But it's in a contextual thing. You talk about crocodile running, it's like, this is what happens when salespeople see this and other this thing. It has that trigger and other this thing. A lot of times, general memes also help. You can contextualize the memes based on the event and this thing. Football World Cup, we made a football kind of a meme and other this thing. But this kind of interaction always helps you to get that audience attention, get people in your kind of target buyer persona talk about you and interact with you, and then, so there is a meme post, there is also a very deep post. The other thing which we also found very good is finding ways to get people who are socially averse to talk about us. For example, I have a technical co-founder or I have a person who is a great engineering manager. If you get them on a LinkedIn Live with you, or if you ask him to have general video conversation of explaining something in a very detailed fashion, that set of maybe 30 people in your audience who want that deep this thing will get very engaged with it. Rest of the people will just like and go, but 30 people will start a conversation around it. That's another thing which also works. It's not like 5 pieces of content per week, all 5 pieces is thing. One is a meme, one is general conversation story, one can be a totally unrelated personal story. 4th is a very deep technical story. 5th is another interview which is there. And most importantly, as I said, the first 1 hour matters. So encourage and support your own team's posts and other this thing. We make it a practice, like we keep like, please support us. We have a channel which does that. That always works for you. This thing, yeah. And this is another thing which every single new team member which we get, whether it's in the sales side or the marketing side or even the engineering side, we ask them to, are you socially comfortable? Do you want to post? If they are socially comfortable, we help them get onto it, support our posts and this thing. Some people do it beautifully. all the stereotypes go out of the world. What you would expect of this person from, let's say, from Delhi, SRCC, what he would write versus what someone else from a very deep PhD engineering post. Some of our data scientists write some of our best posts, actually. And it works beautifully. So get people on board into the social selling aspect, supporting, talking about the value prop and other thing, because there is a large community which you can do a one end-to-end without actually spending any money around it. And one more thing within this thing is also like, as you progress, you can start doing LinkedIn Lives. Completely recorded, you can promote it both on Twitter, you can promote it on LinkedIn, you can promote it in multiple places which are there. You can also make that into an organic post as well. So for example, you have a great LinkedIn Live with XYZ. So for example, you want to talk to certain influencers in this community, whether it's on customer success or whether it's on demand generation, whether it's on Google Ads, something. You bring them on board for a LinkedIn Live, which is different from a podcast. Podcast is something like which is kind of pre-recorded and other thing. LinkedIn Live is a live. People can like that post, people can ask questions. So it's very interactive. You also get a good amount of followers for your page and other thing. They talk about very intricate things around, let's say, Google Ads marketing or Bing Ads marketing, etc. That you can convert into a blog post. That you can convert it into a kind of a playbooks, which is there. And then it produces more content for you, which you can again share in multiple places. So people will say like, oh, I saw this in this LinkedIn Live. Oh, these guys make this content. Then you can put it as a video into your YouTube channel and into your website as well, and your resources. All this generates multiple sources of content. So what we call as content repurposing. One channel doesn't get repurposed into another thing, but you can take content from one channel, keep that context live, and then make it for another channel. So you can make a Twitter thread out of a good LinkedIn post in a very, very significant way. You can make a general LinkedIn post out of that also. You can also make a Slack thread out of that as well. And lead by example is important. As founders, if you are socially averse, one of you has to do it, bite the bullet and do it. Then do workshops and other this thing also internally. Yeah. These are public appreciation posts. One thing which people asked us also in the very early stages is like, why do you want to get your own employees to do it? Why can't you put in your company post? Or why shouldn't only the founder do it? Ask someone else to ghostwrite for you and this thing. We as a policy, personally, we never do ghostwriting. If you write a great post, you put it on your social profile. One, it takes ownership. Second, it feels good for the same person. For example, our OKR or what we tell to the person is, it doesn't matter whether you leave us, go into some other company, whatever it is, you take your followers with you. So for someone as an employee who joined us as an intern 2.5 years back, they started with 1,000 followers to almost more than 10,000 followers in a matter of 2 years. We give them the LinkedIn Premium account, we give them the LinkedIn Sales Navigator account. It's for them to connect, they can connect for their own evangelization, but they also promote your company. So at a fundamental level, trust your employees to make connection, trust your employees to evangelize your brand, evangelize your value prop. It does wonders where people come back and say, for example, I have seen, if you're a founder CEO, not many even around, let's say, you will be target selling to a demand generation manager. You will be target selling to a customer success manager. He's not going to come and say like, oh, you guys are doing a job. Sometimes they might do, and sometimes they might also be looking out for a job. But when they interact with another professional or employee in your organization, it's a very, very different tone. It's like, what you guys are doing is pretty awesome. Oh, this is very interesting. Let me also connect with you. Let me do a demo for you. Why don't you do a demo, or why can't we trade demos? All those things happen. And that's a lot more positivity into the system rather than anything which you would publicly do as an ad kind of a promotion, which is there. We have had great success over the last years, but we have struggled and got it over 3 years. If companies, this can be done within a year. And we have seen multiple other playbooks also working. So if there is anything else which we can help with, please hit us up on LinkedIn. And also whatever which we can talk about, we'll happy to share, and so that people don't repeat our mistakes and do better. Thank you. Oh yeah. Sorry, question. We have time for questions?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yeah.
2 questions.
Sure.
So one is, how do you define a sales playbook for a particular ICP? Does it vary for different ICPs, or is it a common cadence for outbound for all across ICP?
So ICP is one, right? So
yes.
You find one ICP and this thing, and you put a kind of a playbook. So are you talking about outbound sales playbook?
The cadence part.
The sequences and all.
Like the day-wise cadence.
So I'm not able to.
Okay, so when you outreach, right? So you have a cadence, like
Yeah.
on a day one, you need to reach out
Okay,
on LinkedIn.
what kind of emails you write and what kind of sequences you write?
Yeah, on a day one, like for outbound, we have a 30-day cadence. So is it common for all across the different industries, or does it vary?
It obviously varies.
Okay.
One thing is when we were originally into a conversion rate optimization and other, the thing we had a very different cadence in terms of there'll be an ad touch, there'll be a LinkedIn touch, and then there'll be a cold call, then only there'll be an email and other the thing. On what we are doing now, we start with an email introduction only. And the LinkedIn touch is totally parallel. And LinkedIn touch is never with the same person because we do have customers or someone complaining like, why is this so much of LinkedIn activity from you guys? I don't want so many this thing. I just want one person to connect. That also happens. So you fine tune the kind of like how you kind of connect with the people very, very differently. For example, some cadences I have seen where there is a LinkedIn connection touch point, LinkedIn email, and then a normal email, and then a cold call. Others would do a cold call first, then send an email, then make a LinkedIn connection. Third, only if the LinkedIn connection is made, then they'll start emailing. All those multiple variants within this is there. I mean, I would say if there are 5 or 7 touch points, you can have 2 per 7 variants around this in terms of
Last question. So I have a problem actually. The problem statement is for the outbound strategy, right? So, you know, startups, we have a certain budget for the CRM and tools which we have. So when we have planned a strategy in the CRM, we have to capture multiple data points for us to know whether the cadence is actually working for us or not. So in the CRM, there are so many limitations, like we cannot know the data points of exactly whether the LinkedIn request was sent or not. Okay, the call
Apollo
was...
starts at $19.
Sorry?
Apollo is there.
Yeah,
Apollo
yeah,
is very cheap comparatively
Okay.
from what we have found. Second is like you can do HubSpot. The base level plan for the Marketing Hub starts at $50 a month.
Okay. Thank you.
That works pretty well. And it also shows this thing. But another thing, when you send outbound, of course, it will be covered in the outbound session better. Please remove tags and this thing when you're sending. Otherwise, or you have to take a separate domain and then you have to spend money on warming up the domains. If you're doing it at a very early stage, avoid tags and other this thing, write a personalized email and hope for people to reply and respond. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks. So 2 things. If you are in a very new area, you can start your own community. We tried starting our own community on demand generation. It didn't work because there are so many communities on marketing. And plus you need to keep creating good content on marketing and other thing. We weren't able to, so we hanged on other communities. But if you're in a totally new area, for example, in customer success, or I wouldn't say customer success, something like very clearly on very specific onboarding or very specific testing or something of that sort, you can start your own community. Invite people into your community. You can use LinkedIn to invite people into your community. So there are DM automation tools like Dripify or Social Robot and others. You can invite people into the communities, you can build people around that community, and that's another goal. Third is, if you don't want to build your own community, you don't have this thing, get in part of these communities. These communities would have channel owners. So you can reach out to the community manager and say that I want to be a channel owner where I want to talk and create and curate discussions around this kind of particular topic. For example, I am a channel owner in a particular place which talks about LinkedIn ads. And I would keep talking about LinkedIn ads, and I'll invite other people to let's say I'll do kind of, I think, bi-weekly sessions on LinkedIn ads, etc., where other people come and talk about LinkedIn ads. How you get there first is like, of course, any community owner is not immediately going to do it. You first go and participate. You go and participate in this kind of when they have these sessions and meeting sessions and webinars and other things. You keep asking questions. The community owner might also invite you or say like, oh, you're good. Why don't you just talk about this? Why this matters is you get a ready audience of 5,000 people. Active people will be 1,000, but you have another place to talk about. Whoever is in that community can also go and connect. Hey, I saw you in this community, Club PF community. Can we connect over LinkedIn? So it's not something like I just want to randomly connect. And another thing which also happens is when you do LinkedIn outbound and when you even do general outbound, LinkedIn connection outbound, it sees like number of people in that particular mutuals you have. For example, nobody is going to accept you if you're a 3rd degree connection. it's very easy to accept you have a second degree connection. So find ways to do that as well. And that's why LinkedIn Sales Navigator happens because, or a premium, because LinkedIn base, it has limitation and people block you. LinkedIn blocks you. Yeah, one more question. Oh, yeah, hi.
Can you just talk about the team size that you use now to manage this whole process? Do you do this all by yourself?
It's myself and one other person, that's all. And we encourage others to post. Whenever they post, they post. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, Shri. I just want to know a little off from LinkedIn about the MQLs. So we have a very mixed kind of audience who tells whether to have a gated assets like ebooks and all or ungated, right? We can understand like which accounts are coming to our pages through factors and all, but still, what do you recommend? Do we have kind of gated assets to have their information and then nurture through emails and all? Or we should just distribute our thought leadership content as it is without getting it?
So there are two, there was actually a revenue news, there was a big discussion around it. For companies which are stable, which have a very steady audience of a particular kind of inbounds which is happening, gated actually works. On the other hand, companies which are very early stage, ungated works. For example, if you are just in the first 30 customers, you are just started up less than 200K in revenue or 500K in revenue, making your content ungated is totally waste. If you are at a very large, more than $5 million, making it gated actually makes sense. Because more people are coming in, they'll be willing to say, okay, these guys are a pretty large company. You would also have a process. For example, if you're a very small company, anyone who signs up, you'll try to go and run after them. And you'd be bombarded with more emails and other things. But when you are a little larger company, you'd have a process. People who just come in through these newsletters, you write a more nicer email. You just say like, if you have any interest, you connect, or you just connect on LinkedIn. You ask them to come and join your webinars. So you do the more soft touches to push them into the funnel. That's much better if you're a larger company. So if you're a small company, don't gate. If you're a large company, gate.
Just a follow-up question on that. So the process you told for the gated one, that's completely okay. But in case we go ahead with the ungated one, what we should do? We got to know the accounts who visited, then what next? Because we don't have the exact email IDs or the consent to reach out to them, right? So what we should do with them?
So the great thing about B2B is nobody randomly comes to the website. If anyone comes all the way and reads your LinkedIn ads playbook, he's someone who's going to be a marketing manager or a social media marketing manager or someone in that particular company. You identify the company, you will know which is the buyer persona in those companies. You can find him on LinkedIn. Apollo will give him the email ID. You can have your SDR team reach out to them separately, or you can connect with them on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, so it goes to the outbound efforts, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. One last question. Don't do a CTA, do a text chat. It's very cheap. It will give impression. LinkedIn gives you which companies have seen your ad. You can get that data, and then you can correlate that. Yeah. I mean, very contextual, but there are so many more this thing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think we had a phenomenal start to this workshop. Happy to see a full house and everybody so engaged. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then Rohit will come talk about PLG, and Neha will talk about how to get started on paid marketing, right? I think that's there. We'll be back here at 3. All right, thank you. A lot of a channel thing.
So you're saying you have partner sales guys, you don't have direct sales guys?
We actually, like, the thing is that our direct sales team, they actually go and farm, right? They actually go plant the seeds. So they don't wait for the leads to come to them, right? My direct sales team in the thing, they will just not wait for the leads. They will actually go along with the BDM to all these events, build a relationship with, like, for example, our top 2 partners of Lenovo and HP, right? Esper is sold along with Lenovo and HP globally, right? A direct sales guy is not waiting for somebody to give them a lead. He's actually going, like yesterday we had a big meeting, like the direct sales guys are actually in the partner meeting. They're helping the partner team, they're helping the BDMs, right? They are doing the work. So they are doing the work to actually get the opportunity. They're not sitting back and saying, you know what, when the lead comes to me, I'll work. That's not true. I think instead of outbounding, they're actually working with the partner team to, that's what we call as a joint selling and joint enablement.
So they're the partner sales team. And
Yes.
the incentives to maintain relationship with the customer on an ongoing basis?
There's no incentive. I think it's everything starts with the pipeline, right? I think like if you're a business development manager and a marketing person, your KPIs are pipeline, right? There is no KPIs for meetings, right?
So the channel guy is going to maintain the relationship.
Yes,
ongoing.
it's channel is always measured on pipeline, and sales is measured on ARR.
A quick question. In terms of the channel, some of the larger channels, they want to white label and sell. Is it worth to walk away from those when you're initially starting off, or is it like having the white label solution out there? Does it make sense?
I think depending upon how much revenue they can bring, right? I think my rule of thumb is very straightforward. Let us say my highest paid customer, it's like $100,000 in ARR, right? If this customer can give me like $500,000 in ARR by white labeling, yes, I'll at least talk about it, right? It has to be like, can you generate me 5 enterprise deals take my highest ACV of enterprise deal into 5. If you're able to generate 5 enterprise closed deals because I'm white labeling and there's like a path to like $1 million, $2 million in 3 years, why not, right? I think the alternative to white labeling is branding, right? Not even co-branding, with customization, you can actually take off all your branding elements and make it like, hey, make it your own, right? It's like do it yourself.
So we've been trying this new notion called sales assist, which is like a hybrid where you're not, forcefully selling. And we've seen positive outcomes like for the very first 2 months. But then I want to understand what best practices are involved and, where do you kind of detach yourself from the selling aspect of it and more of an onboarding specialist? And how does it like span out with the marquee leaders which you talked about and sales assist as a notion?
Yeah, no, so what you spoke about is actually very common, right? Those are called the hand raisers. Like they're raising their hand, they're saying, they're in your product, maybe they got stuck somewhere, they raised their hand, they need help. So absolutely you should help them out, but I think again, if you, like for example, I was talking to one customer, Mural, right? So they have like thousands of people that raise their hand as well. So they still need to prioritize. So again, then you need to see, is it ICP? Is it going to be worth the salesperson's time? Is it a company, in the sector? Do the number of employees make sense? Is it going to be a high CV contract? If not, maybe there's an onboarding specialist, your customer success gets in, helps that customer. Maybe your onboarding documentation needs to get better, right? You cannot do that at scale if you're PLG. So again, it depends on what you're trying to do, what exactly the problem statement is. But if the question is that people are getting stuck in your product and they're raising their hand, you need to do better on the product itself with documentation and everything else. If you're thinking that they're raising the hand in the sense they want to buy your product, they need help, there sure, you can get your SDR in, they can vet that opportunity and then give it to the sales team because again, it's not qualified yet. You want your sales teams to be working on the highest possible, the best pipeline that you have, right? So you don't know if this person that just said, hey, I want to buy a product, for example. I want to talk to someone. That still doesn't mean you give it to the sales team. You want to have a layer in the middle, maybe you give it to SDR. He figures out, has the conversation, figures this worth, qualifies the meeting. If it makes sense, then sure, send it to sales. Does that? I hope that answers.